The day before the Nobel Peace Prize was announced, President Bush signed off on the third Congressional Medal of Honor for the current global war on terror, the first for anyone who served in Afghanistan, for Navy SEAL Lieutenant Michael Murphy. This got about 1/1000th of the coverage of the Nobel Peace Prize, which, as Charles says, is an entirely political gesture. There are fewer Congressional Medals of Honor awarded than Nobel Peace Prizes. The New York Times, Mike Murphy is a 29-year-old who died in 2005 from Long Island. The New York Times, the local newspaper for this genuine American hero, hasn't mentioned it. Huge stories, Al Gore, what a narrative, what sacrifices he's made to produce this movie and to become a multi-zillionaire and to make himself so famous touting the cause of global warming. Michael Murphy gets the Congressional Medal of Honor, and the New York Times, our leading newspaper, and the local newspaper in this case, can't notice it. There's something sick about our culture when we don't acknowledge genuine heroes.
The Congressional Medal of Honor, a medal that's won with great valor and sacrifice, an honor, as it has been written, that nobody signs up to earn, but is found at the intersection of happenstance and hell.
June 2005, at 10,000 feet in the Hindu Kush Mountains of Afghanistan, a four-man team of Navy SEALs led by Lieutenant Michael Murphy fought one of the fiercest battles in SEAL history. Petty Officer Marcus Luttrell was on SEAL Team 10.
I've been in some tight spots, but I've never been in one like that.
They were on a reconnaissance mission when they came across 3 goat herders. The SEALs could release the Afghans and risk they'd run to the Taliban or kill them. Murphy ordered them released.
There is an issue as to whether or not these innocent civilians gave them away or not. I don't think it's so clear-cut. Anyway, a battle ensued with approximately 150 fighters and Michael's small team, the 4 of them. We understand that they inflicted severe casualties, approximately 80 casualties.
We'll get rough real fast. I got bad.
This Taliban video of the attack shows the intensity of the battle. Lieutenant Murphy was wounded. What happened next earned him the Congressional Medal of Honor. Murphy stepped out into the line of fire to make a satellite call for help.
He took 2 rounds to the back and dropped down that rock and sat back up, picked the phone back up, and started talking again.
In order to make that call, Murphy had to expose himself, had to step out into a clearing under heavy fire to get cell coverage. He knew it was the only way his men had even close to a chance to be saved. But he also knew he would die. Even after being shot, Murphy wouldn't stop. He grabbed hold of the phone again to report on the position of his men. Then, before he hung up, Lieutenant Michael Murphy said simply, "Thank you." His final words would echo a life well lived.
He never thought of himself first. He always thought of the other person. And I always had a feeling that he could get out of anything, but I knew he would help the other person out if they needed help, and he would put himself in jeopardy. I knew that from the start. It didn't shock me what he did. That was just Mike. That was pure Mike.
You know, when I try and tell people about this boy, this young adult, this man, and you sit there and say, he was a good person, people will sit there and say, oh, it's just, you're his parent. But you could walk from one end of Long Island to the other. Anyone who met Michael liked him. He had no enemies, none, because Michael was very giving of himself.
He would not back down from a fight, but he never went out to look for a fight. If he did, it was to either to protect somebody or someone who was smaller and said, hey, pick on someone your own size. He wasn't all that big either, but he was a tough kid and smart.
He gave up his life to try and save all of us. Doesn't get any more honorable than that.
It's become almost too familiar. A family bears the pain of sacrifice made for all of us. Murphy's parents wanted him to go to law school or to teach. Instead, he became a Navy SEAL.
I can see how the military appealed to him. It comes back to him wanting to do something important to help others. And he was aware that his whole family, that's what we did. We were all firemen, and I was a prosecutor. His godfather was a policeman. His best friend was a fireman. He became a lifeguard. So it was in his nature to serve others. And the military, especially as a Navy SEAL, doing the most elite work, the most secret, the most important.
He's a great hero, and it's great to hear about people glad, but in actuality, it's actually horrible. It's just the fact that he's no longer here. That's the bad part, really. That's the only part that's actually that makes it horrible. The fact that he's not around.
It doesn't get any better. 3 years down the road, 4 years down the road, 5 years down the road, it's not any easier, and it's not more acceptable, and the hurt doesn't go away. The void is always there. And I know Maureen said it, and I've said it. Maureen probably says it best, says, I'd give it all back to have him walk through the door.
Murphy is the first, and still the only sailor, to win the Congressional Medal of Honor since Vietnam.
I'm proud of the man Michael became, and that right to the end, he was true to himself, did exactly what I would have expected Michael to do. He sacrificed himself for his men.